The 2025 Formula One season promised a fairy tale chapter when Lewis Hamilton, the seven-time world champion, joined Ferrari in what many considered the most dramatic transfer in modern racing history. But fairy tales, as Formula One often reminds us, rarely survive the brutality of the stopwatch. Now, midway through the season, Hamilton's dream move has become a battle of survival. His sixth place in the championship and struggles against teammate Charles Leclerc are raising doubts about how long this partnership will last. At the same time, Oscar Piastri has risen as the unexpected disruptor. Leading the championship at just 24 years old, the Australian is rewriting the script for McLaren. But the tension within his own garage, from controversial team orders to whispers of internal favoritism, may have created the perfect storm for Ferrari to strike. And if you want to stay ahead of these shocking developments, the kind of twists that can reshape the future of Formula One, make sure to subscribe, because this is a story you cannot afford to miss. Ferrari's sudden interest in Oscar Piastri is not just another silly season rumor. It's a narrative born out of necessity, ambition, and the timeless cycle of Formula One politics. To understand why the Prancing Horse may already be scouting their next big signing, we must first dissect the state of their current star, Lewis Hamilton. When Hamilton announced his departure from Mercedes at the end of 2024, it shook the paddock. A seven-time world champion, a living legend, and the face of Mercedes' dominance suddenly trading silver for red. It was the biggest transfer since Michael Schumacher left Benetton for Ferrari in the 1990s. For Ferrari, Hamilton's arrival wasn't just about performance. It was about symbolism. They wanted to send a message. Ferrari, the most iconic team in motorsport, could still attract the greatest driver of a generation. But reality, as so often in Formula One, has been far harsher. Hamilton's Ferrari career has begun with glimmers of promise, like his sprint win in China, but not the consistent brilliance expected from a driver of his caliber. Sixth place in the standings after half a season, trailing Charles Leclerc by 46 points, isn't the fairy tale Maranello envisioned. Hamilton himself has admitted the adaptation has been tougher than expected. At 40 years old, every misstep is magnified. Every defeat to his younger teammate adds weight to the whispers that his peak has passed. And Ferrari never waits. This is a team that values heritage, but they are also ruthless in protecting their future. They know better than anyone that the sport moves quickly and reputations can evaporate in a single season. Which is why, even while Hamilton insists he will give everything to stand atop the podium in red, the Scuderia's leadership is already casting their eyes elsewhere. Enter Oscar Piastri. At just 24, the Australian has become one of the most compelling figures in modern Formula One. In only his third season, he leads the World Championship. He is calm under pressure, analytical in his racing, and brutally efficient in wheel-to-wheel combat. Piastri doesn't waste words on the radio, nor does he crack under expectation. He has a cold, clinical quality reminiscent of drivers like Mika Häkkinen or even Alain Prost. Ferrari, who have too often relied on raw passion at the expense of discipline, might see Piastri as the missing piece in their long quest for stability. But Ferrari's pursuit of Piastri is not just about talent, it's about timing. The cracks within McLaren have begun to show. Monza was the perfect example. Piastri, on course for a runner-up finish, was ordered to sacrifice his pace to help teammate Lando Norris, who had lost time in the pits. That single instruction dropped Piastri to third, while Norris claimed second. On paper, a small detail. But in the high-stakes world of championship fights, these small details become daggers. For Piastri, the message was clear. McLaren may not always back the man leading their title charge. This is where Ferrari senses opportunity. Because Formula One transfers are rarely about money alone. They are about psychology. The moment a driver feels undervalued, other teams circle like Shah. Ferrari can sell Piastri not only on their history, but on the promise of being the centerpiece of their future. They can whisper, at McLaren, you are still part of a two-driver project. At Ferrari, you will be our dynasty. Norris remains a favorite of the fans, of the media, and of the team's marketing department. If Piastri senses he will always be battling Norris, not just on track, but within the corridors of power, Ferrari's pitch becomes all the more tempting. Financially, there is no contest. Ferrari have the budget, the sponsors, and the prestige to outbid anyone. But the money is only half the story. What Ferrari truly offers is immortality. To win in red is to carve your name into racing legend. For a young driver like Piastri, who has already shown he can win races, the allure of building an era-defining career at Ferrari is immense. Just imagine an Australian world champion in Ferrari red. It's the kind of headline that would electrify the sport and cement his name beyond statistics. But what about Charles? He has long been Ferrari's golden boy, their poster child, their Monaco prince. Bringing Piastri into the fold risks destabilizing that dynamic. Ferrari has a history of explosive driver pairing. Think of Prost and Mansell, Schumacher and Irvine, Vettel and Leclerc. Adding Piastri to the mix could either create the strongest duo on the grid or ignite chaos inside Maranello. The political implications are enormous. Would Ferrari truly risk alienating Leclerc, who has carried them through lean years, for the promise of a new superstar? And then there's Hamilton himself. Despite his struggles, Lewis is not finished. He remains a master on his day, and his experience is unmatched. But the sport is brutal, and Ferrari may not give him the time he wants. If the rumors solidify, Hamilton could find himself forced into one of the most difficult decisions of his career. Fight to stay at Ferrari and risk being overshadowed, or exit once more, perhaps even retire from Formula One altogether. Looking ahead, the next few races could prove decisive. Azerbaijan will test Hamilton's adaptability and Piastri's resilience under pressure. If Piastri extends his championship lead while Hamilton continues to languish, the narrative will write itself. Ferrari must act. And once that narrative takes hold in Formula One, it rarely disappears. So what does it all mean? In short, Ferrari is playing the long game. They cannot afford another decade without a championship. And they see in Piastri not just a solution, but a foundation. Whether McLaren can hold on to him, whether Leclerc can accept him, and whether Hamilton can fend off the shadows of decline, all of these questions will collide in the months ahead. What is certain, however, is that Formula One is once again on the brink of a transfer story that could change the face of the grid for years to come. So, here's the burning question. If you were Oscar Piastri, would you leave McLaren, where you're on the cusp of becoming champion, for the glamour, risk and chaos of Ferrari? Or is the scarlet temptation too powerful to resist? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, because this transfer saga could be the story that defines the next decade of Formula One.